officially late, so let's go ahead and do this. Let me just get the recording going. All right. Well, thank you, Joe and Rishi, for joining. Just by way of introduction, because I know you guys are new. Kat works for Springboard and joins these sessions every week. Helps set these sessions up and facilitate the conversation. My name is Geoff Roberts. I'm the community manager for the Springboard digital marketing community, and tend to host these office hours week in and week out. A lot of times these are just general question and answer sessions, so a good opportunity for you guys to jump on and ask any questions you have about the curriculum or the Springboard experience or anything at all. But today we have a special career-focused session. Suzy DeLine is our guest. She's been working in digital marketing for 15 plus years, and I'm basically gonna interview Suzy, ask her to tell us a bit about her career and experience as a digital marketer. And this is all about you guys. So if you have questions as we go along, you don't just need to listen in. We would love it if you jumped in and asked questions of your own. So feel free to cut me off at any point. All right?
And me, for that matter, if you have a question that just can't wait.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Suzy, why don't you start just by telling us a little bit about who you are, how you got into digital marketing and sort of your career path to date.
Sure. So when I came out here, I went to Northwestern, first as a theater major, and then when I realized how little being a theater major paid, I went back and got an MBA, also from Northwestern, since it was there. And when I moved out to California, part of the tech boom going on, they didn't really call it digital marketing. They just called it marketing. And a lot of what I did at the big companies was a lot of creating PowerPoint. And you'd create PowerPoint, you'd give it to your agency, they would create things, they would place them, they would tell you your results if they were good or bad. And you really had no way of tracing what they did back to any business results that you got, especially big companies. These are very huge account sales, so marketing was very subjective and therefore a little frustrating and very political. And then a friend of mine, and so I was at Intel and then I was at Intuit, and then I was taking a break from between those two companies, and a friend of mine had started an agency. She'd become a HubSpot partner.
Okay.
And she said, you've got to try out this software. It's magic. So I was running a social campaign for a nonprofit at the time, and I thought, what the heck? And we got a nonprofit license for our company. And honestly, I had never had a dashboard that had live attribution, that gave you the ability to put up landing pages, run email campaigns, link all of your campaign elements together. It was awesome. I felt like, this agency was heaven. So I've been a digital marketing fan ever since. HubSpot is still my favorite platform, but obviously you have to work in whatever platform the clients and the companies that you work with are on. So when I worked with Intel, again, no platforms, all agencies. Intuit is moving to Eloqua, which is useful, very good for tying everything together. Still a lot of use through various agencies who place things. But in my most recent activity at Facebook, we did everything ourselves, which was awesome. And they have a heavy reliance on using Facebook as the platform for their marketing, but they also are rolling onto Marketo so that they can have multi-channel attribution. And yeah, that all sounds very nerdy. I'm a huge tool nerd. I love the tools, and I love the feeling of empowerment you get when you can manage your own data. So that being said, even though I talk about tools and nerdiness, I am a storyteller. I got hired at Intel to manage events because, theater director, event manager, very, very similar. And over at Intuit, I was actually a product manager and a launch manager. Again, very good program management skills. And at Facebook, I was brought in on a very specific campaign to grow a new kind of tools, a new kind of usage of Facebook. So they've been really fun projects. And again, digital marketing, I kind of feel like it's the same thing now. So digital marketing just means being able to do marketing with all of the best tools and techniques available to you.
Awesome. I'm sure most of our students are at least somewhat familiar with HubSpot, Marketo, Eloqua. But for those who are just starting out and might not be familiar with those tools, can you just give me a sort of a brief overview of what they are and what they do for a digital marketer?
Sure. So it kind of starts with a dashboard. You have bought this marketing software and you put its tracking code onto your website, or you can even build your website with it. And it shows you, so it's basically kind of wraps Google Analytics in. You see everybody's activity on your site, but you are able to do additional things from within that same dashboard. You can place ads, you can do a blogging campaign, you can do email campaigns, and you see what's working, and you see what keywords are performing for you, you see which channels are getting you the most leads, your conversion rate. So it's software that lets you see everything going on with your marketing. They call it marketing automation software, and I just kind of call it home.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah.
So a lot of our students right now are going through the early units of the curriculum. And one of the things the early units of the curriculum ask them to do is to start thinking about both the types of digital marketing roles that they might be interested in. So content strategy, product marketing, SEO, those sorts of things, as well as the type of companies they might want to work for.
Exactly.
You've got a great mixture of experience with nonprofits, with startups, with big companies that everyone has heard of.
Yeah.
How would you go about sort of pointing a student who has no idea what they want to do and what sort of company they want to work for in the right direction?
So I actually had this exact talk with my new mentee who started yesterday. And it's really nice that one of the assignments is to find your quote unquote dream job, right? So where I start that from is, I kind of go by the kind of company you want to work for. If you like big companies, great. If you're passionate about a certain industry, for example, my current passion is impact sourcing. If you guys know what that means, it's where you organize a business to have some social good. So it's in the area of social responsibility. So if I were doing dream job looking right now, I would go to companies who are leading in those areas. And, if you go onto LinkedIn and you look at a company, it'll suggest other companies who do the same thing. And you look at the jobs they have open, and it kind of gives you an idea for the sort of skills and the sort of things that are currently going on right now. So again, I do tend to like bigger companies, so I tend to troll through their LinkedIn openings to see what sort of skills they are looking for, what sort of jobs they do. And so, between the type of company you like and the type of industry you like, you will see what is available. But then the other advice that I've used my whole career is, you don't have to be constrained by the jobs that are out there. One of the things that's fun when you're doing your persona research is you can set up quote unquote informational interviews, which of course you're not looking for a job for yourself, but during those informational interviews, you can ask people, what needs do you see? What kind of things aren't being filled at your company? And it's not that you're pushing yourself, but you're honestly getting feedback about, what's happening in the real world.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. And just in general, when you're hiring digital marketers, or in the past when you've hired digital marketers, or if you see hiring managers at existing companies looking to hire more junior digital marketers, what skills do you typically see hiring managers looking for, and what can our students do to sort of stand out from all the other digital marketers that are out there?
So I love the focus on attribution in this course. That is a key thing that all marketing teams will want you to come with to fully conversant on the various tools there are for attributions. And the other thing that I'm finding that people will say that they need marketing associates, and they really, the foot in the door is always to some degree marketing ops and analytics. So I know that's kind of a different Springboard course, but a lot of the things that people will want is, some level of comfort with either Tableau or SQL or other ways to put together your own internal data. And now if there is a platform like Marketo or Eloqua or HubSpot in place, it's not as important, but the vast majority of companies don't really have that fully implemented yet. So being conversant with things above and beyond Google Analytics is really helpful. So I know it's not something that's in this course, but there it is.
Sure, absolutely. One of the things that we are definitely prescribing as part of this course, in the vein of helping our students land that first full-time opportunity, is trying to land smaller project-based consulting work ahead of time. You spent a lot of your career in a consulting capacity. For someone that's more junior than you and doesn't have the experience that you have, how would you recommend they go out and actually help find those initial consulting gigs to help them gain more experience?
There's a community called inbound.org. It was started by HubSpot.
Yeah.
And that's actually how I found this mentoring opportunity. It is a very project-centric site, and they really want people to have a kind of firm foundation in digital marketing. And I think anybody doing this program will be able to go on to Inbound and find lots of opportunities. And the other thing that's great about Inbound is it's nationwide, it's worldwide, but there's also a fair amount of remote work.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, inbound.org is a great community, something I have leveraged a lot myself as well.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pause here for a moment and turn it around to the rest of the group. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Don't be shy.
Okay, we'll give you some breathing room here, Geoff. Suzy, I'm Rishi. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm happy to hear you're in the Bay Area. I was out there in the .com days, living in Mountain View and commuting to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And after the crash, I moved to New York, and I've been doing consulting work. Back then it was back-end coding, and then I was building websites in New York.
Yeah.
And then I ended up doing digital marketing. So I'm more or less a self-taught digital marketer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the tech background has helped me, I would say, do things that traditional marketing organizations lacked.
Yeah.
Things like implementing Pardot and Eloqua. But I shifted direction a couple of years ago. I worked for a lot of financial institutions, big companies, fun but really boring and meaningless work, I would say.
Yeah.
So basically, I had a couple of kids, and I kind of changed, that big question of what does time mean, right? So I changed direction to do something that's more meaningful and hopefully do things that matter. So right now, I'm helping a small healthcare practice do their digital marketing, but I'm because of the family, I kind of am looking back towards the big companies.
Yeah.
And that's what brings me to Springboard.
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear about your background and all the things you're doing. So after that long intro, the question is, what do you think, for someone in my background, what do you think is important to help get back into a bigger corporate job, potentially at one of the big companies? I know you mentioned you worked at Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't mind trying to, go in that direction, but any tips or guidance in that direction would be appreciated.
So what I have found is each company tends to work with a given, contractor source. And at Facebook, it's a group called Pro Unlimited, and they have a job board that's just as vibrant as Facebook's own. And so I'll share that with you. It's not something that you couldn't find by Google searching, but it just, I happen to have it bookmarked. And so Facebook puts all of their contracting opportunities up there. And then as soon as I find a job I like, I hop onto LinkedIn to find out if I can talk to a person about it, which is always a good, way to triangulate around it. So yeah, if there's a company that you fancy, It's for sure that they are using contractors and that they will have a way to get your foot in the door through their company, because getting yourself in as your own LLC to a big company is very tricky. But the one thing that I will say in terms of ways that I actually make more money than working for the big companies is I've taken the pit crew strategy, where when you help a small company, invariably, if as they scale, they'll need you to bring in new capabilities, and that's where you become the pit crew boss. So I go in to do a specific thing, and then I tend to bring in, I have an SEO expert. I'm an SEO generalist, but I tend to bring in my SEO expert because you will see very fast results. And then I typically also tend to bring in a writer, because odds are any company that's, scaling, growing fast, they need a lot of content, and they, in theory, should be providing it themselves, and in practice never want to. So I've managed, a couple times now, I've managed to double my billings by just saying, hey, you want to try this new capability out, and invariably they love it. And honestly, it's still, you're bringing in capabilities at the fraction of a cost of a new employee. So right. That's the other, and I do tend to find that those engagements tend to be a little more family friendly than the big companies, where they will schedule meetings at 7 in the morning or at 8 at night.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. So the Pro Unlimited, is that prounlimited.com? Is that the URL?
Okay.
I'll search for it.
Yeah, and I'll send let's see if I put in the chat window, I think I can just paste it in here, if that's okay. Kat and Geoff, should I do that now, or should I just do it before we close the chat session?
Whatever's easier for you.
Okay, since I've got it handy up here, I'll just grab it right now. It is.
I see it too now. It's 4 people on a meeting room table.
Yeah, let's see. So I don't want ProFinder. I want Pro Limited Facebook. Here we go. And they do happen to have quite a few things going on in New York right now. So. Yeah.
When I've read some of Facebook's job postings, and they really write them differently than a standard job description. I often wonder what I'm supposed to do, but anyway, that's for later down the line.
Yeah, indeed.
But thank you. Appreciate your answer.
Yeah, and Geoff will keep us connected in the community, right?
For sure. One other thing I will throw into the community, just a thought that you triggered, Suzy. You mentioned you've been looking for companies that have some sort of social impact or social responsibility as a core part of their strategy. There are actually some really good job boards out there now. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the specific one I'm looking for, but they focus exclusively on job opportunities at companies that have some sort of social impact. So if that's something that is important to you, there's communities out there that have tons of digital marketing jobs specifically with that sort of goal in mind. And I'll figure it out and throw it into the community right after the call.
Please do. A Google search came up with 10 things that look really awesome in terms of social impact careers.
There you go.
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions from the group?
So I'm curious if I can ask the group what they think of the curriculum and the platform so far, and what made them choose Springboard versus other options.
I can go first. I just started actually in January, so it's just been a couple of days, but it looks promising. I'm interested particularly in working with a mentor. I have to see what that experience will be like. I'm excited to build a portfolio, although I do have one of my own. I think overall I'm interested in getting some direction and formality, because as I said earlier, I've been scrapping and succeeding, and that's fine for small engagements. But I mean, to be honest, I went to a few final round interviews for senior level positions, managing large teams, and I struggled because because I really wanted to say, I can figure everything out. Just give me some time. But it doesn't work like that in big groups.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm excited about that. So the second part of your question, Springboard seemed attractive for two reasons. First, because of the career track.
Yeah.
And the second is for engagements like this, where you can have an opportunity to talk with people and ask real questions.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of the guarantee?
The what?
Were you moved by the guarantee?
Yes, absolutely.
I thought that's pretty bold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, although you can get it. It depends, I mean, if the guarantee was they'll give you the job with the salary you want, with some qualifiers,
Right.
I'm confident that I can find a job. That's not the challenge. I want to find the dream job. So hopefully, hopefully I can report back to you at the end and say I found my dream job.
Cool. And Joe, thank you for your comment in the bar. Was that the TechCrunch article where they, just got another $9 million?
Yeah, that was the one.
I got to say that $9 million is a whole lot of credibility, isn't it?
Yep, you're right. That definitely, kind of sealed it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I went on the website and, like I said, I mean, it's just kind of like I need the formality, I need the structure instead of just kind of randomly doing whatever it is that I'm doing. You know what I mean? So. Well,
so I have my own consultancy where I mentor people along digital marketing, and honestly, the biggest problem was the lack of community on it. People would do their stuff, check off on their Google documents, but then be really uninspired. And I hadn't thought to set up this level of, community, this level of the ability to share and to be accountable to one another. So I myself was really, really impressed with everything that's here in the structure. So I'm glad to hear that you see it too.
Glad to be a part of the inaugural class.
Exactly. All right, Mohammed, Raj, what about you guys? What drew you to this program?
All right, I'll go. So I actually work at Springboard. And,
okay.
Yeah, but it's funny. I'm a data scientist by background, and I have been working on managing Springboard's data science programs. The reason I got interested in this course is that I am moving careers gradually to photography.
Oh.
And so I'm starting my own photography business. I actually work part-time for Springboard now, so switched part-time about a few months ago.
Oh, cool.
So I realized as I was starting to build my business that I needed to learn a lot more marketing. And this seemed to contain all the skills I think I need.
Yeah.
Business.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
I will just have one point here. My only question is like someone have a very strong business background and like I have, and they are moving towards a digital space. Like I work for Walmart right now, and all our growth is happening in the digital side, competing with Amazon, and they're buying huge companies. So it's kind of a very, very cool thing. But what advice would you give for what skills should I really work on top of my business background, which would really help me to progress in the right direction?
So if I can answer that in two ways. One, I'm going to start super high level, and then I'll give you kind of a super tactical one, which may or not be appropriate. But from a very, very high level, if you've got the business background and you've already got, a certain, when you work at a big company, it's like being at a university, right? I mean, Intel teaches you a certain way to do things. Intuit does. I'm sure Walmart does too. So what you're going to see is everything you learn in this digital marketing class will enhance something that you're probably already doing in Walmart retail, and say, okay, this is the future of this technique. And so, lean into that. And as you become more conversant, so this is kind of going from general to tactical. What location are you at for Walmart right now?
It's Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Gotcha.
Working one of their biggest $100+ million stores right now. So it's really
Awesome.
cool to see all the trends. So really, you become very strong in seeing what makes a product a winner, because you have all the best products around you. You exactly know what trend is that. If the product have to be a winner, what tactics are they following? Because they cannot get into Walmart if they are not the best.
Exactly.
So after a while, you understand the trend. Only thing is, I think you have to master the tech part.
Well, so what I was going to say is, as we go into some of the curriculum where you have to do specific projects, and I think, again, this is very tactical, but if you can reach out to people who are out in San Mateo, who are the strategists for online, if you can get their feedback on the coursework you're doing, Walmart will do things a certain way, but they'll have an opinion on when you do your personas, when you do your value proposition. This is all kind of classic marketing stuff, but especially the persona bit. If you can connect with someone inside Walmart.com, it's a good validation of what you're learning from Springboard, but B, it's a great networking tool in case that's a part of it. If you want to stay internal to Walmart and start working with that team.
Yeah.
That's what I would do, because I have found that people are very happy to, not having worked at Walmart, but I do find that people do tend to be fairly gracious to coworkers who are, learning and expanding and looking for feedback.
It is, yeah. And I think you are right on the money on that Google Analytics area, because that's the easiest starting point, because companies will not hand you over their entire strategy because they have a senior strategist doing that. He will need help in the analytics, so it saves time for him. So you do the analytic part and he can use that to make the final decision.
Yep, exactly.
Yep,
cool.
Sure. Cool.
How cold is it in South Dakota right now?
It's super cold. It's better today though. It's not too cold. It was cold in the first of the year. First of the year was super cold here, but this was -18, I guess. Right now it's cool.
My parents are in Wisconsin, and they had to move their New Year's party to like daytime because everyone was scared to drive at night. It's so cold.
It is cold, yeah.
Yeah. Stay safe. Stay warm.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Geoff?
Suzy, I have another question for you. You mentioned that sometimes you act as sort of the leader of a pit crew and bring in some more specialized people for specific roles in any of your engagements. I'm curious what advice you would have for students who are thinking about being more of that generalist versus picking a more specialized role. And just a story from my own background and career. I am much more of a generalist for sure. Early on when I was learning digital marketing, I was frustrated by my inability to get specific things done. And one example was I still don't know how to write HTML. And I found that was gating me on some projects. And I went to my mentor at the time and I said, hey, I'm thinking about taking this boot camp and learning HTML so I can get stuff done and, remove a dependency. And her advice to me was, Geoff, absolutely don't do that. You need to kind of pick and choose your battles. And I can tell you right now, you are not a coder. How do you think about sort of the generalist versus specialist angle, and how can our students sort of make that decision for themselves?
Yeah, anybody who's in this class is going to pick up a very broad, general view, the ability to manage projects, to be the marketing person. And in terms of, finding things like so I'll give you an example. So back at Facebook, one of my tasks in terms of, marketing within the company is I had to edit our wiki, which of course is in HTML, right? Because why wouldn't everybody at Facebook know how to write HTML? And truthfully, so I was in the same situation, and so I'm sitting there at the tech desk going, guys, what is there a cheat to this? And they're like, yeah, Suzy. And they call up this girl who worked like 2 aisles away from me. And she's like, I wrote the code in the first place. What do you want me to change? And so what I found as a digital marketer is, when you don't know how to do something, and it would, that it's a deep specialty, there's someone else usually, in the project team or available to you who is good at it. And, a lot of times you'll run into bullshit about, I don't have bandwidth. But in reality, so first of all, my first hack for working at any big company is make friends with the tech guys. The IT desk knows everything and everybody. And it's kind of just this, the ability to find people who want to help you will, focus on the stuff that you like doing, that you're good at. I would never, ever need anybody to write me a content journey map or, any persona information, because I love that stuff and it just flies out of me. Whereas, changing the code on a wiki, once she set it up for me and I could just cut and paste and make, new wikis for different audiences, awesome. Because I got the concept, I know what it's communicating. But yeah, in terms of learning stuff, SQL is another thing that at Facebook, everybody has to do SQL. And I'm like, oh, should I learn it? And they're like, no, have somebody set you up with the 5 scripts you need and just copy and paste as needed.
Sure.
So it's specializing is awesome if you find something you love, but otherwise don't.
Fair enough. Good advice.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any other questions? All right, Suzy, do you have any last words of wisdom for this group?
So this group, let's all meet over at Geoff's community site later and have a beer. Geoff, how do we get to the community? Can you put the link in the chat message?
I certainly can, yes. Give me just a second. I'll throw it up there.
I'm on the West Coast, so I can't have a beer yet for 2 hours, but at some point we should just meet up there to let the conversation continue.
Sounds good.
I'll have 2 for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, if that's it, I will share that community link, and otherwise we'll wrap it up for today. Suzy, thank you so much for making time for us and for all the insight. We really appreciate it.
It is my pleasure, Geoff. Thanks.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye.